So it's getting warmer outside, but at nighttime it's still a bit cold, hence this sweater. What do you call this sweater? Wait, let me check. It's a sweater. So I usually still wear a sweater at night since I like walking at nighttime after work. So when going out, I would usually wear these types of clothing because it's still cold and I don't want to get sick because these weather, the transitions, the middle part of the winter to spring, spring to summer, summer to autumn, autumn to winter, that's usually the time I get sick. But that's not the story about this video. And the thing I want to discuss about today's life update in South Korea is how big thrifting here in South Korea is. And this is the perfect example of what thrifting is because this shirt, this sweater is actually thrifted and I was able to get it like 2000 Korean won, probably a dollar. In Philippine peso, it's 80 pesos. So it's very, very cheap. And there's a place called Dongmyo. It's open, widely open every weekend, especially on Sunday, wherein people like me and a lot of Koreans actually flock these streets and searching for clothes. When I say searching, it's like there are piles of clothes and really have to check each clothing. And then usually the price ranges from 1,000 to 5,000 Korean won. Some goes up until 20. It depends on the quality and the brand. But this goes to show how much thrifting affects Korean life. And well, in general, also extends to fast fashion and fashion sense in general in South Korea. Because even if they change the clothing a lot, they tend to resell it or probably open an app called Carrot or Dangan, wherein they resell their old clothes, old stuff, old laptops, old computer, old cell phones, anything old. So when I arrived here in South Korea back in 2021, I already have this notion of thrifting because I also did that in the Philippines, but it's a different level here in South Korea. It's a different feel and a different level, and I really appreciate because the clothes are very cheap. So they are very affordable, but the quality is very good. And sometimes you'll be able to find brands like branded clothing, and especially in Dongmyo, the prices are very cheap. So if you find very good deals, that's already a steal. And there are stores called for vintage. So usually they have vintage items there, which you can buy at like 10,000 Korean won or 20,000 Korean won, but I mean very affordable compared to buying it directly from stores and branded malls and such. So for my case, that's actually one of my addiction when I moved to South Korea, because one, I'm not a big spender for clothes back in the Philippines, because one, it's expensive and I don't have a lot of money. But when I moved to South Korea, I have the money to buy. I mean, even a 20,000 Korean one can buy 20 pieces of clothing. That's very affordable. And that's actually a struggle because when I was moving from one apartment to another, I have to pack a lot of clothing. And that's very hard because each box, you have to fill it with different stuff. So I moved to South Korea back in 2021 with only two luggages. When I first moved from my dormitory to my first apartment here in South Korea, I already have 5 boxes and two luggages. So in the span of like 1 year and a year and a half, I generated 5 boxes of clothes and probably 4 boxes of clothes and a box for my mattress and pillow. And that's crazy. That's less than 1 year and a half. So when I moved from my dorm at Hanyang University to my official apartment outside of the university, I added a box, so another box for clothings and other certificates I gathered here in South Korea. And very crazy. So you'll be able to experience that if you go here to South Korea, because aside from the clothes, shoes are also very affordable. I think you'll be able to find good deals in Dongmyo, also in Carrot, the app I mentioned, wherein they resell some items. Also, bags are very affordable. So if you really are into bags, shoes, just jewelry, fashion, I think Korea is the best place for you actually. And online shopping is also very big. You have a lot of sale. So I was able to get my winter jacket. In my first 3 years here in South Korea, I never buy a winter jacket. It was only this year that I buy one. I was able to buy it from, what was the brand? Musinsa. So I was able to buy it from Musinsa, and my goal there was to buy at least below 50,000 Korean won because I'm cheap. So I had to make sure I included a lot of discounts. So I was able to buy it by 40. And that's very good deal. And that's why I was very happy. And it was my first padded jacket. And but other than that, I never really buy branded clothes unless it's for work, or unless it's for something that's really a big purchase. Or for example, my thing is like shoes would be more of a brand new thing for me, because I rarely buy it. Probably I bought only once, but usually shoes I'll buy branded ones because I don't want the other people wearing my shoes. And then that's the only thing. But the rest, clothes, bags, the things that I can easily wash and dry clean, I would opt to buy them from a secondhand store. And that's not a bad thing, especially in today's economy. And then also, if you're under the scholarship, like my case, back then I was only managing 1 million Korean won. It's less than $1,000. So you don't have a lot of money. And if you want to look good, dress well, present yourself professionally, you have to make some magic. And for me, thrifting is a magic. And I was able to pair up some clothing. I look online some things too for inspiration, and then we're able to make it work. But that's how big thrifting here in South Korea actually. And even if like it's not a big deal or well known, probably Dongmyo is well known, but the other stores like the Carrot app, and then the one in Dongdaemun, because there's also a thrift store in Dongdaemun every weekend. That's something very familiar to Korean culture, because if you go to Dongmyo, a lot of older people are there. And here's the thing, it's not just clothes that you will find there. Dongmyo has everything. So imagine laptops, camera, like the vacuum cleaners, bikes, books, LP player. If you're familiar with that, the older version of discs, the bigger version of discs, and then the vinyl, the vinyl, and then all things are there. Watches. They also have perfume. They also have eyeglasses, sunglasses. Everything is in Dongmyo. So probably one of these days I'll be making a video or a vlog directly about Dongmyo and probably taking you there if I have time, because that's something I want to do again. And I missed going to Dongmyo because it's salary day this Friday, so I have money to buy at least 20,000 worth of clothing just to replace some of the clothes I had. And that's something I was trying to develop when I moved to South Korea. It's more of, if the clothes are not already fitting my aesthetic or also my body, I would have them donated. So here in South Korea, alongside with the thrifting culture, they also have the nation culture. So in Korean roads, you'll be able to see this kind of picture, this green box. And in that kind of box, you'll be able to put your clothes. For example, you want to give out your old sweater, your old pants, your old not no for sure not your undies, but like for example, your shirts, your shorts that are still usable, but for you it's already not fitting well. you can donate it for free. I mean, you won't be able to get money back, but it's as if it's easier to do that instead of throwing these garbage because they take up space. And probably I'll lead that to the idea here in South Korea, you would rarely find trash can, and throwing garbage is actually expensive because you have to buy the plastic. So one big plastic here in South Korea is actually worth 20 pesos in the Philippines. So it's like 500 Korean one big plastic. And I think that helps in terms of providing salary to the garbage collectors, making it not as difficult as possible. At the same time, it makes people think of their purchases. Because with the, for example, buying new stuff, you have a lot of cases, you have a lot of paper, styro, plastic. Disposing these things would incur cost. So thinking about it, people are more mindful with their purchases nowadays, because aside from the purchase on the actual product, they also have to pay for disposal of the old items and then pay again for the disposal of the packages and containers and such. These are some of the realities about life here in South Korea. It's very funny but very reasonable at the same time. If you're not used to it, you would find it very difficult to adjust at first. But as you get to live here, get assimilated to the culture, it will get easier, and things will make sense. That's something I really was able to learn. Things started making sense as I moved to my second year or first and a half year in South Korea. And yeah, I've been talking a lot about life here in South Korea, moving from clothes to garbage collection to going to Dongmyo someday. But this is actually what the HAJA episode is about. Me sharing some bits and pieces of my life here in South Korea that you might find interesting once you move here under the Global Career Scholarship Program or under personal employment or other scholarships. Because life in Korea is very complex, very fun, and it's up to you how to manage all these intricacies. And if you want to ask questions, if you want to know more about life here in South Korea, if you want to recommend a topic, the comment section is very much open. And till then, bye bye.